Hello, my name is Danielle and welcome to my channel. Today's card project was inspired by Mother's Day. I think this card is really pretty and I'm proud of how it turned out. So in this video I chose to do a few things off camera as I still get used to filming. It is a skill set you have to develop, and I'm so impressed and inspired by all the crafters out there that are able to talk through what they're doing on live videos, because um, this voiceover thing is something else to me. Anyway, so I'm starting off by taping down my card panel, um, masking off areas so I can create my custom background. I'm using Distress inks, and that was Blueprint Sketch, Picked Raspberry, and Scattered Straw. I'm using two stamp sets. The first one is from Spellbinder. I used the Happy Mother's Day sentiment, and the second is from Stampin Up, Remarkable You. I used the Tulips as my stamp impression for the focal point. I use my stencil, I keep calling them stencil brushes, but they're blender brushes, which are now becoming my favorite tool. I think I've used a lot of my Distress inks over the past few months because I am really happy of the results I get using these brushes. I have tried them on or with oxide inks, and I'm noticing that I have to have a lighter hand, so I have to get used to them using the oxide inks. I just opt to use my regular blender tool for those, but with these brushes, that Distress ink just slides on. Now, of course, with Distress inks, to build up that vibrancy in the color, you have to be a little patient, and there's going to be several applications of the ink. But in the end, the brushes make it so much easier for me. I don't have those splotches in there. It's just like a smooth result. So now I'm just going to speed it up. I think I'm speeding up ×4, maybe ×8. I can't remember. I'm still getting used to this voiceover. And I probably shouldn't draw attention to this, but I think it's pretty funny. Throughout the video, you're going to notice, like, and I've tried my hardest because I didn't film this all in one day. You know, I work full time aside from this, and I have a teenager, and I'm married. So just like a lot of you, we're all in the house together, and I'm fortunate where I'm able to work remotely. So throughout the past 2 months, I've been working full time 100%, and I'm pretty fortunate in that because, you know, I didn't lose any finances or anything like that. So I'm aware of that, and I'm thankful for that. But I don't know, I just feel like I've been working so much harder. Anyway, so I have to make time to do this, and I'm a blogger as well, so it's easy for me to like package up a blog, like write it out. I think I write better than I do these videos, at least for now. And so it's nothing for me to get a blog post out, 2 or 3, you know, schedule a few out. But these videos, boy, it's easy to film it, and I found a or at least a rhythm in editing it. So I don't find that too challenging, but it's when you do these voiceovers. I mean, I don't know about you guys or how you have started, or if you know people who've done this. I may have recorded, deleted, like so many times to get to a point where I think it's okay. I try to cut out the uhs and ums and so all this other stuff that you learn, you know, when you're presenting. And it's so funny because in my day job, you know, I present all the time. you know, I oversee tech teams and I'm in IT, so I'm always explaining architecture. I'm always showing diagrams. And I have no problem with that, but it's just like, this is a different area. So I'm just trying to find my way here. But as you can see, going back to the card, I'm applying all three inks. And when you first do this and look at it, it may not look like the results that you want. But if you just stay consistent and be patient and just keep applying the color, it'll really, once you unveil it, when you take off the tape, you'll be surprised of the outcome. So I'm just going to let this play out a little bit and I'll be right back with you. So I'm back. I hope you enjoyed all of my blending. And if you fast forward, that's okay too. So now I'm doing the big reveal, and this is always exciting for me. So it looks like that I did apply the masking tape okay, because I don't see any bleeding or anything like that. Here is where I try to what I'm attempting to get borders on the side of this card, and my first thought was just to try to save on card stock and just try to draw the borders on. The mistake that I see, I didn't see it while I was doing this, but as soon as I watched or started editing this video, I noticed that I probably should have used a clean piece of tape, because as you'll see here, it kind of bled underneath. And of course I didn't stop there. I tried to do the other side, and it just didn't work. So I think next time I'm just going to just don't be cheap and use a clean piece of tape, and I'll try this again. But as I'm looking at it, I didn't like it, so what I did is cut it off, and I'm going to add black cardstock, as you know, to show the border. So now I'm showing you, I'm stamping my impression, the tulips. And if you noticed, oh, I think I'm using VersaFine ink, black ink, because I want that sharp image, and I stamp it a couple of times just to make sure it just shows through. I think that ink is so pretty, and I use the same ink for the happy sentiment. I do heat emboss the Mother's Day part, and I apply that on a separate piece of cardstock. I cut that down, and I use, and it's going to show later on in the video, but I did that off camera so you don't see my heat embossing. So here's where I'm going to apply my top layer onto the black cardstock to create the borders on the sides, and I think the borders are about 1/4 of an inch on each side. I will have my links to my blog post that gives you all the measurements, so be sure to check out my blog post there, and I do have more pictures on my blog, my site, so of this card. So if you're interested in seeing additional pictures, be sure to go to the link that I'm gonna put in the description. I think what I was showing you there is that after I applied it, you know, I didn't size it up correctly, so I just trimmed down the pieces. So now it's all trimmed. I think what we're looking at, I think it is a standard A2, or not standard A2, but it's 4.5, or no, 4 1/4 times 5.5, right? Yeah, because it fits right over the card base. And so I'm applying that layer onto the card base. Unfortunately, as I was trying to adhere that layer to the card base, I ran out of tape, so I had to find another one. I think the one I'm using now, the smaller one, is repositional. And I used to use that a lot, but you know, I just go back and forth. The card base, by the way, is 110-pound cardstock, so you can't really. Oh, I know why I limited using, because sometimes depending upon the thickness of your cardstock, you can see some of that ink. Like if you hold it up to the light, you can see like the tape strips and stuff, and I don't like that look. So I think that's why I switched to the ATG gun. But either way, that 110-pound cardstock, you can't. It's hard to see through it, so you're covered there. So I recovered. I got my second tape there. It's repositional. I applied it to the card base. Now I'm going to adhere the Mother's Day piece. Oh, and I forgot that I use my Score Buddy, because sometimes when I put my top panel onto a card base and it's the same size, I try to make it even. So I use my Score Buddy to line it up, at least on the top and the left sides, and then if there's any excess, I go and trim that out. And so that's what I was showing you a little earlier there. I'm now applying my glossy accents to the happy sentiment. It's pretty easy when the font is pretty big. Otherwise, I would have opted to probably use clear embossing. But the glossy accents really added to the overall look of the card. I really like this card. I think it's really pretty. I'll probably create it. My mom actually loved it. Because I'm finishing off the, I don't know if you heard or if you fast forwarded through, but I didn't tape this video all in one day. So I did pieces here, pieces there, I re-recorded and all that. Anyway, so at this stage of the video, it's past Mother's Day. And so my mom, she actually called me, or I called her. She actually really liked the card, so I'm happy about that. So after I put on my glossy accents, I try to clean up some of the excess, you know, just so it can stay like within those smaller areas that are kind of scripty and swirly. I try to get off the excess in between. So that's why I'm using my little pointer there. But pretty much the card is done. Oh, well, no, I take that back. I finished off the card using those Nouveau drops. I'm still getting used to those, and I always find it a challenge to find placement of those. So what I'm forcing myself to do now is when I add Nouveau drops is just find a place, commit, and then once I do that first push and that ink comes out, I just have to go with it. Because otherwise I'll sit here all day trying to say, oh, let's go here or there, and then going back and forth, and it's just so I just picked a few areas. I make sure it's in threes and I commit, and that's it. So now you're looking at the finished product, and I really liked how the card turned out. I'm going to show you a few more pictures at the end of the video. Thank you so much for sticking it out with me throughout the entire recording here. I hope you like what you see. If so, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.